What's up, Infected, and welcome to Kickstart Your Week. If you're not familiar with what this segment is, this is my weekly show that I put out that covers the recent Kickstarters throughout the past week, the new ones that came out that I thought looked interesting, and they're in no particular order. However, this video is going to be a little special. It is only going to be 13 games that I'm covering here, but it's going to cover the past 3 weeks, because last week I was at Gen Con, and the week before that I was preparing for Gen Con. So I didn't put out videos, and I managed to get 13 games covering those 3 weeks that I thought looked interesting. Now, with so little time and so many games on Kickstarter, it's not possible for me to cover all of them. So I only cover the ones that actually look interesting to me, kind of at a first glance. Then I go in, review them, and I only kind of review them. I only spend a few minutes kind of looking over, reading over descriptions, looking at some pictures, and if they still look cool, they wind up on the list. And it's really unofficial, it's very laxed, but that's what it is. So these are in no particular order. If you like this, definitely check out the Gamerati as well. I'm going to have a link up here in the corner and down in the description. They also put out a weekly podcast that I've also been a part of here recently, and they just cover kind of Kickstarter videos, a little bit of banter, a little bit of nerd arguments, because, you know, Picard is best Starfleet captain, but, you know, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and kickstart this off with Vikings Gone Wild, Master of Elements. Now, I've never played Vikings Gone Wild, but this one did really catch my eye. It seems to be a deck-building resource management game, but looking over this, I'm strongly considering picking this up at this point. Apparently it adds gods to the game and some artifacts that apparently radically change the game. It looks like if you own the original, this almost looks like a must-buy. The next up is Alexandria. Now this one looks like kind of a dungeon crawler through the Great Library of Alexandria, which, if you're unfamiliar, and I only know a bit about it, but back in the Great Library in Alexandria had a millennia of knowledge written in it. Scribes would find books on the boats, jot them all down, copy it all, and store it in the Great Library. And at some point, through the many conquests of Alexandria, it wound up burning down, and most of that knowledge was lost. So this game takes place during that, and you are, I guess, different conquerors trying to get into the Alexandria, trying to get as much knowledge as you can, along with jewels and gems, stuff like that. And then you're trying to get out with all of these, all of this stuff. And it looks very light. Looks very light. Looks very fun, and the artwork looks kind of nice. I am a little weary about the excitement level of the games because I've played recently, had to review several games that kind of followed the same vein, and they weren't the best in the world. But this does look like it's really fun. Looks like it's going to wind up being very tense. Next up is Tanto Cuore Winter Romance. Now, I did put out a review for this one. It is a fantastic game if you already like Tanto Cuore. If you don't like Tanto Cuore, skip this one. Nothing here is going to be added to Tanto Cuore that makes you like it, will make you like it. But if you already like it, this one almost is a must-have as well, because it adds, a romance mechanic and men to the game for the first time ever. So it allows you to, make couples between, two men, two women, a man and a woman, and you make these couples that form points. So it just adds a new element to Tanto Cuore, and if you already own, like me over here, if you already own all of the other Tanto Cuores, it just adds more ways to win, more sandboxy stuff that you can play. So definitely check this one out if you like Tanto Cuore. Next up is Unstable Unicorns. Now this one I was a little hesitant to put on the list because it looks like it's in the same vein of Exploding Kittens. And I recently sold Exploding Kittens because I don't really like it. It's not a very good game. However, this one looks like it's got a little bit more of a gamey feel to it, so that might be good, while still, of course, staying light enough to kind of bring anywhere. Plus, if you're like me and kind of have the mind of a 12-year-old and you think dick and fart jokes are funny, there's a Not Safe for Work expansion, which is always great. Plus, the price point isn't too bad either. Next up is a game called Radiant. Now, looking at the Kickstarter, I can't get a whole lot of information on this, but it looks like it's an area-controlled trick-taking game with beautiful art. It looks very light, and that's really the most I was able to get out of it. I've put in a request to get a review copy of it on several occasions. I've yet to be successful, obviously, but the game looks stunning and looks like it might be really, really good. Next up is a game called Shipwreck Arcana, or Arcana. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it here, but it is a cooperative puzzle-solving deduction game. Apparently it accommodates drop-in, drop-out, so you have a friend that shows up late, or maybe has to leave early, that definitely is good. Or if you have that one friend that kind of always shows up late, that also works. The whole game apparently fits inside of a little token bag, and it's supposed to be very simple to learn, but very complex strategy behind it, which is kind of cool. And the art is really evocative, and it almost kind of has an Unearthed kind of vibe to it, with the very simplistic art, but very, I don't even know the word for it, but it looks really pretty with very minimal effort, and I cannot for the life of me think of the word that I'm trying to get. Next up is Stories of a Lost Station. Now this one is a story-driven exploration game set in a really pretty sci-fi universe, and apparently the story unfolds differently every time that you play. And again, artwork's really pretty, and the minis are gorgeous. My only reservation with this is, again, kind of been burned on this style of game in the past from Kickstarter. Next up is a game called A Dog's Life. Now this one has beautiful pre-painted dog minis, which are pretty cool. And apparently the players are dogs trying to collect bones, try to keep themselves fed and watered, trying to stay away from the dog catcher, just to name a couple different actions. And it looks very cute, very family weight. And plus you get to be a friggin' dog, and some people might say I'm already one, but either way it looks really cool. It looks like a lot of fun, really light, really fun for family. Next up is a game called Wanted Earth. Now apparently this one is a co-op, a PvP, or a solo game where aliens are invading Earth and you guys are trying to stop them, and it's pretty much as simple as that. It looks like a tile, not a tile placement, just a grid-based movement system, and you're trying to move around, exploit cover, stuff like that, try to defend the Earth. But if you're playing the PvP version, it's a team-based game where you're still trying to stop the alien threat. You're also trying to kill each other at the same time, so you're trying to figure out when's the opportune time to betray each other and stuff like that. So that kind of looked interesting, and if they add, kind of my opinion, if they add a little like traitor kind of mechanic where you're still playing the PvP, but you're all hidden out which team, handing out like what team you're on before the whole thing, then you add that level of paranoia. I don't know, that's probably not actually in the game, but something I just kind of thought of. Next up is a Vertigos. Now, Vertigos is a minis game similar to like X-Wing and Attack Wing and what is it, Wings of Glory I think it's called, and it's on the very similar vein of that. However, the game introduces, rather than just having an X and a Y axis, you also have a Z axis that goes up, so you have a height mechanism. Now, I have put out a short tutorial just kind of covering how those systems work alone, but I should have a full tutorial out within the next week or so that cover the whole thing. But it also uses a really cool card movement system. So rather than having these sticks that you use and this is how far you move, it uses these cards and that's how you move instead, which is really cool. Definitely check this out if you like this style of game where you customize these ships, bring them all to the table and start flying them around. The price point might seem a bit high for some people, but if you can get over that, the game is solid. Next up is Off the Rails. Now this one looks like a crazy, goofy little tile line game where you're trying to get these goblins in minecarts from like one point to be able to get these gems and get them over to your safe area, and it almost looks like a Suro style like tile laying, and this is how the things are all going to go, and then there's traps involved as well, which you can screw each other over with, and then it looks like you can combine rails, so now rather than just going this way, now this one curves into it as well, and it does its own thing, and so it looks really, really silly. You got these abilities that can proc, and it looked like it'll be a lot of good fun to play. Now next up, this one looked really interesting, and it's called the World Council 2. Now, after I applied it to the list, I realized that apparently it's a sequel to a game, and apparently you and another player are taking control of like a world congress, essentially. You have a global society, and you are part of this congress member or a global council, and you're trying to progress your country while also trying to just like deter or discourage the other player's country. But all the while, you're also trying to defer the annihilation of the world. And I thought that was really, really interesting. So you're trying to make yourself better while screwing over your friend, while trying to stop the world from ending, all kind of at the same time. And everything about the game looks really crisp and really nice, and looks like it looks very like ominous, and I thought that looked really, really cool. And the last thing on this list isn't actually a game, but it felt like something I really wanted to put on this. This is the ultimate, or the table of ultimate gaming. Now this one is a really super sexy gaming table, and that is fairly customizable from what I can tell, and there's a bunch of additions and everything. But the thing about it is, in terms of gaming tables, they're very affordable. I think their lowest price is like $600, which sounds super steep, but when you take into account, I paid $400 for, or I think several $100s for the coffee table or the dining room table I have here. That's not bad for a nice gaming table with felt lining, with the padding and everything. So yeah, definitely check that one out if you're in the market for a gaming table, or you want something, in that vein. It's got the recessed inside. You can also get attachments that the boards go across. Now you have just an actual dining room table. It's got the things that go on the side. Now it's cup holders. It's got outlets. You can get them customized and have engravings on them. But the base pledge is only like $600. So definitely check that out if you are in the market for a game table. If I had the money, I would actually replace my dining room table with one. And that is it for my Kickstart Your Week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely check out the Gamerati. I should be recording for them, or with them again this week as well. Again, I'll have a link up here and down in the description directly to them. Check them out. They're pretty cool guys. And the podcast is a lot of fun to do as well. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you give this video a like and comment. I read every comment here. If you're new here, stick around to hit that subscribe button down there. If you would like to help support the show, I have a Patreon up here and down in the description. If you're afraid of commitment, I also have a tip jar down in the bottom if you want to do a one-time donation. Anything you'd like to help the show with definitely helps out. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time in the quarantine.